Hello everyone, welcome to the last session of Festive Sheep, and we are going to start working on the smaller details. We'll do a couple larger washes to tie in colors together and add some warmth. We'll splash some snow on. That's always fun and satisfying. We'll use my Kuretake white ink, but you can use any white ink or white gouache, white gel pen, white charcoal pencil, white pastel pencil, anything white you have will work. Even acrylic paint, I think, would be fine. And we'll put on the finishing details. And I will realize as I go through this footage that I need to do one more thing to this painting. And that is I need to put a very watery tea consistency blue-gray glaze over the tushy. And you won't see me do that, but it's very simple to do that, to push an element that is farther back in space, to push it back in the painting, to make it look like it's farther back in space. You just paint a glaze over the entire area, including the background, to tie it all together, and that'll help do the tush push. But other than that, you'll see everything. I'll put more details in the eyes and all the little things, all the little adjustments I like to do to make a painting come together. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's zoom in on this eye and let's get our tiniest little brushes. I'll use this one. This is a size 2. This is one of the Timu brushes, so we'll see if we can get enough control with this for our little nice details. I'm going to get some nice dark paint that we already mixed. I do wish it didn't have a little one single hair coming out the end that's could mess me up. Okay, but I'm going to try. Here we go. Then I'm going to blot that and get even more tiny details. Have the eyelash going out over. And then he's got this little kind of warm shadow feature that shows the top of his eye socket here. And then he's got cools directly above that are very delicate, that go like that. And then he's got these striations like that. And then a darker gray-blue shadow. It's got some red. Add some red. Blot so I don't make a mess here. But there's some texture here. This can be actually darker. Hope I'm not mumbling too much for you guys. I'm going to put some darker features. Make these connect a little bit more. And then there's an opportunity for some pinks in here. because it's the corner of the eye, and I like to have little pops of red wherever I possibly can in my paintings. So I'm going to take that opportunity and pop that in. Let that dry, and then we'll do another layer of details once that dries. Okay, now I'm going to get more of an orange color, orange with a touch of cool in it for the bottom of this iris. To give it some glow. And then just some more details of just eye area features that I can highlight. He's got some warmth behind him. I kind of lost my eye. I don't know how that happened, but I lost my lost the negative space around the eyelash, unfortunately. So I might have to bring that back with some white paint later, which is fine. I'll come back with some white paint because I really don't want to lose that pretty eyelash. Next, we're going to work on the nose. It's completely dry, so it's ready for the next layer of color and value. And just a note to you all, I made an abridged version of my best tips from this tutorial, and I will talk about how you develop paintings in layers. And this nose is the same thing. It started out with a very watery layer of barely there pink. Let that dry. Then we put in the dark features while we could still see the line drawing. Let that dry. And now we're going to put in the medium values. Okay, I'm starting to like this painting now, y'all. See, you just gotta sleep on it. Let other people give you feedback. When my parents looked at that, they're like, oh, that's so pretty. And I'm like, is it though? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And then I slept on it again, and then I saw the possibilities again. Whereas when I'm in a frustrated mindset after I get to the ugly stage, I just sometimes really can't see it unless I put it away, sleep on it a few days, a few months sometimes. I can't see any redeeming qualities about some of my work sometimes. It's really very normal. So give your paintings some grace, give them a chance, sleep on them. You'll be glad you did. All right, so I'm just using kind of a dirty orange, pink. I'm making his nose pinker than in the reference because it serves to balance out all that bright color in the ears. This will help move the viewer's eye around the painting a lot better. I think I'm going to use a more pure red pop. Those pops of pure red really can create a really pretty feature. Yeah, that looks good. And this needs to be darker. I'm going to get my, I think this is, actually I'm going to get my black here and just get this really dark in here. Give it some nice pop. Put a few pops in these of black, just here and there. I don't want these to scream at the viewer, and if they're pure black too much, the viewer's going to be like really confused where to look. We definitely want some super dark blacks in parts of the eye. Super, super dark black, as you can get. If you, I mean, that's my style. I like the eyes to really pop. And some artists don't want to do that. And that's just our different styles, what we like. Notice I don't make the whole eye a flat black. Have some lights in the bottom of the eye to give it life and dimension. And even some medium blues or grays somewhere in the eye would be nice too. That just adds dimension. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and then this needs some shadows around the negative space of the eyelashes. I think I need one pine cone over here to balance these darks with a little touch. I don't know. Just a little pine cone though. Like this one. I love that one. So scary to put something in when you like how something's looking. And I think to tell the story of it going around his neck over here, I could put in a line of darker green.
let's put in some more purples. Let's get a nice clean purple. Really pretty. Blot and just put in a little bit of, you know, some of these nose textures.
So this is yet another thing that you can do with layers. When your painting is completely dry, you can paint on top of it with really tea consistency paint, like I'm doing here, to add texture and values. So there's a few textures here on his nose. And so since I have this purplish gray in my brush, about tea consistency, I can put textures in this area that is completely dry. There's also a lot more texture on his upper lip here, so I can put that in. I could have put more, but I'm just dotting some texture in. I added water to my brush to make this a lot more delicate blue-gray. It's almost a complete gray, purple gray. I'm adding water and now I'm blending it, blotting my brush when I get a blob of puddle, and now I'm just blending it on down.
And you can dot in some of this sheep's wool texture very easily with very delicate tea. You can put as much texture as you want. And there's some darker. You can dot at them to make them look a little bit more natural. I'm gonna really get some little bit dark in here just to tell the story of the edge of where his face goes. Just a little bit. Getting really watery orange, just to put in some shadows through here that are warm. To vibrate a little bit with these purples too. And I actually can see these warms in my reference. So it's not too hard to imagine. And get this a little bit darker behind here to pop these eyelashes out. Really nice. If you want someone to see something, you gotta pop that contrast. Now we can get out our, I like Kuretake white ink to put finishing touches on a white subject. I'm gonna splash on some snow. It's gonna be super fun, so stay tuned. All right, when you want the viewer to look at a certain place, I want them right here. You want to calm down the whites. So I'm going to do a few more very watery glazes. So I'm moving back to my large brush. Everything is completely dry where I'm going to paint. I'm going to put very watery glazes, very watery, over some of these areas. Actually, this is the warmer side over here. So I'm going to blot. I like this warmth here. But over here, I'm going to keep it cool. Sorry, my thing is moving. There's some really pretty warms down in this chest area. Even in the reference, it's giving me that. Actually, this in the middle is more of a blue. So let's get a really pretty, watery, pure blue for that. And this edge right here is kind of blue. This is definitely a lot of nice blues.
All right, so again, the more you go in with these tea consistency layers, one over the other, letting them dry in between, the more texture you can get. So it just depends on how realistic you want to get this. If you want to go for hyper-realism, this is the way to do it. Do a delicate layer, let it completely dry. Do another delicate layer, let it completely dry.
So you can use layers and layers of glazes like this to add in curly-Q textures. You can really have fun with it. In fact, I did this with Sammy, my painting he's a Tanzanian boy, and I put a lot of curly-Qs in his hair, and I really liked the effect. If anything looks a little too harsh, just blot at it, or you can scrub at it later. And then this whole area is in the background, so we're going to push his tushy back. We're going to do a tush push because the tushy is farther away, so we're going to make, we're just going to scrub over this a little and push that pushes his tushy back and makes this come forward, because this is pure white. These pops of red, these compelling eyes make you want to look here. That is the work of the paint that I'm applying to get that. Actually, there's some. Okay. My drawing's a little off there. This needs to be more white. So when I go in with my Kuretake white ink, I can fix that. I can fur out these edges while they're still wet. This is kind of puddly. Got it a little too puddly, but that means I can fur out these edges so they look more natural. All right. I'm going to let that dry, and then the next thing we're going to do is work with Kuretake white ink. This is my favorite white ink, but you can use white gouache, white gel pen, white acrylic paint even, Dr. P.H. Martin's white ink. Lots of different whites out there that you can use. White gouache, white watercolor paint, white pastel pencil. A lot of watercolor artists, I didn't realize this, but they use pastels in their work, and it's really pretty. And this would, pastels on top of this, white pastel with this soft texture. Ooh, it would be pretty. I just don't have pastel. So anyway, I'm going to let this dry. Okay, this is when I start doing tiny little fixie poos. Just, I see things that need a little bit, and the shape of the ear needs a little refining here. And then I can paint around this. And then I'm gonna get clean, clear water, clean out my brush, and then blend it up into the background so it's kind of seamless with the background. So that makes this ear more rounded, like a sheep ear would be. Same with this one, it needs it. Um, um, and you can blend as needed. It doesn't need much blending there, but I start doing little fixes like that at this stage, and I can spend hours doing that. It gets really tedious. But if you see a little thing that bugs you, keep looking at your painting, sleep on it, come back, fix little things, and all those little fixie fixes will really make your painting gorgeous. Another thing, who was it that I learned this trick from with painting this kind of greenery? You let it dry and set up. I think it was Ellen Crimmy Trent. I think. I'll have to look it up. She has the best tutorial, y'all. Oh my gosh, I love this tutorial she did 1 or 2 years ago. I think it was 2 Christmases ago, painting poinsettias, and she painted them all tight and hard edged, and then at the end she goes through and she scrubs across the poinsettia leaves and the greenery and just blurs them out like this just a little. Oh, it's so pretty. See, I did it over here and I love how that looks. And so she just blurred it out. Just blur part of it. And it's just gorgeous. And then if you got too much blur going on, you can come in after this dries and add back a little bit of red definition. It's just so cool. Love that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to scrub over some of this, not all of it, and just make some soft edges. Not everywhere though. I'm going to leave some. Hard edges, but that just dreamifies it somehow. It's just so cool. Like in here, we can attach all this stuff in a little shape there, in an attachment shape, but leave other parts of the pine cone and berries hard edged. And then I'm going to come back and redefine some of those red spots. Love. So another little thing you can do to take your painting to the next level as it gets to this stage where you're putting the final touches where you could just leave it, it's fine. Pops of red here and there wherever it's dry. This is still a little wet, but I'm going to put just the slightest little pop of red in the nose, pop of ear and pop of red in part of the ear. That really light red there. You could really put a pop right in there, maybe. We'll see how that dries. You don't want too many pops of red because then it gets too busy. If you think it's getting too heavy-handed, you can blot. And then let it sit some more and then see what you think. All right, now I think we're ready for some Kuretake white ink. I will probably fidget with this painting a lot more, knowing me. That's just how I work. But for now, this is the stage of the painting process that a lot of beginners, I think especially, are afraid to overwork their painting, and they say leave good enough alone. But pros know that you have to keep working on the final small details to really make a painting special. So take note of how we look now. We look good. We're happy with what we've got. but we're going to keep pushing this painting with the tricks that we know because, you know, we've been, well, let me start talking about myself because I've been painting for almost 25 years now. So I just know the last stage is so important where you put on the jewelry and it'll make everything look even more special. So with this Kuretake white ink, what you have to do every time you use it is give it a good stir with some nice wooden toothpicks perhaps. It's really solid and almost sticky. The jury's still out if I really would recommend this because it does get so sticky and then it's a little bit harder to paint with. When it's fresh, man, it's good, but this is really sticky. But it really liquefies up a lot with stirring. So let me just stir the bejeebus out of it. I think I'll use this brush, my size 2 Temu brush. And I'm just going to look at my reference and see where I can put in some little details that'll take this to the next level. Definitely the eyelashes. We'll do that. I'm going to get my brush a little wet to activate this ink because it is a little bit sticky. And I'm going to add some eyelashes. And for eyelashes, typically you don't want to paint every little hair. You want to paint the shape of the eyelash clump for the most part, and you might put in a couple little details, but for the most part, you just want to put in the eyelash clump. Then you can put some fun swirlies up through here. Just make some swirling motions. That's just kind of playful. And this even gives it a little texture, which is fun if you're not painting for a big fancy exhibition for watercolor. It's fine. But that gives it some fun texture too. This is really a little sticky. I don't know. White ink won't get quite this sticky. So, I don't know. I've been using this Kuretake white ink for a while and I have noticed that it gets really sticky like this. Do you use Kuretake white ink and what do you think of it? If you've been using it for a while now, how do you feel about it? Need to reshape his mouth in this area a little bit. It's really sticky. Not sure about it. But to my eye, that just looks so much better. And now the real fun part, right, is let's get some water and add to our ink or whatever white you're using, and we're going to splash on some snow. By the way, when I mention artists, like I mentioned Ellen Crimmy Trent, I really appreciate it when you go to their channel, watch the video, and let them know that I sent you. I just love that when you do that because it builds my community, and I just think it's important for artists to support artists, and I want them to know I do support them. I just like that. So, all right, so I've got this pretty watery. I'm going to wipe this up. This will act like acrylic, and it's hard to get off your table after it dries. But I'm going to get it even more watery so it makes bigger splats. More water, rub it together. Oops, I don't want it in the eye though. I don't. Nope. And what you can do is just put something over the eye, you know, if you want, like that. And then proceed. I'm still going to add some red to these berries too. When I add more water, it'll make bigger splats, and also when they dry, they won't be so pure white, so that'll add some variety. But that's really, wow, that makes it look so good, those splats. It looks like snow. It's so good. Love it. Okay. While this is wet on my desk, I'm going to clean up my desk really fast. And I don't want... See, this is where it dried, and I got to scrape it off, and it's in there. When you get it splatted and then it dries, it's hard to get it up. So just note to you guys. All right. All right, I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to pop the reds and a few of the berries, not all. We don't want them to be overwhelming. And then see where we're at. All right, I'm happy with this for now. And the only thing that I see that's kind of bugging me is these berries. I'm going to punch them up just a little bit. I'm going to make sure my heel is blotted nicely. And I'm just going to put in a little bit more definition. All right, I think that's pretty much, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to let it sleep a day, 24 hours, and then we'll see if we need anything else. And I can't wait to see y'all's renditions of this. All right. If I'm done, I enjoyed this tutorial very much. I was very pleasantly surprised at how nice this Temu paper is, how nice it scrubs, how it has some advantages over Stonehenge in that you can put tape on it and it will not tear. That's amazing for hot press. It doesn't do the delicate lifting that you can achieve on Stonehenge, but there are other things about it that are also better than Stonehenge, which is really amazing. And it just goes to show you can't get everything you want with any paper. I found that there's no paper I can think of that does everything I want it to do, including Arch Cold Press, because the problem with Arch Cold Press I find is that sometimes the sizing isn't reliable. So there's challenges with every paper. And there's not too much downside to this paper. The only thing I wish it did was lift a little bit more responsively, but I love how the paint sits on top of it. I love how the granulation works on it. I love how it pops the colors just like hot press, and how you can get small little details like hot press, and how the paint looks more, I don't know, it looks more transparent and watercolor-like, like hot press allows. So there's a lot to love about this paper. I'm really impressed. All right, until next time, go watercolor your world.